Welcome to week 11 of Power 4 Picks brought to you by Better and Green. We have some big news. We have our first undefeated record last week in college football. Yours truly, not to toot my own horn, went 4-0-1. 0 losses there. Me and you both pushed on Texas with just a ridiculous cover by Vandy. Hats off to them. But we had Texas -3. Thank God we didn't have the -3.5. But 4-0-1 for me and Ethan, 3-1-1 for you. So two profitable records for us. You are 24-24-2. I am 26-21-3. So if you've been tailing for us, we might be starting to get hot here. And I know me and you both excel come bowl game and come playoffs. Hopefully we can excel in the end part of the season. As games get more important, I think look ahead spots are huge. I think letdown spots are huge. So I'm excited to continue this hot streak with you. And not a great slate this weekend. It was supposed to be a fantastic week of college football, but teams have started to suck. Penn State and Indiana was going to be a phenomenal game at the beginning of the year. Turns out it's not going to be that great of a game. We have Florida State is playing someone good. Forget who it is. And a couple other good games. But we have 3 ranked games for you guys. We have one really big game in the group of 5 schools that's going to have a huge impact for the last team in the college football playoff. And then a couple other games that we're going to talk about here. But Ethan, welcome. How are you feeling about college football week 11 and the season moving forward?
Yeah, congrats on your undefeated week there last week. Do you, off the top of your head, know which game I lost on?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yes. Okay. Wait, yeah. Who'd they play?
Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah. Okay. But yeah, 2 winning weeks, so we'll take that. Yeah, moving forward, I don't know, man. I feel weird. I'm struggling in college football. I just I don't know. I won last week. I went 3-1. My one loss was freaking Cal. It was the most disgusting bad beat. I don't know. I feel like the matchups aren't there this year like what we've seen in the past. And you mentioned it with some of these teams, Florida State, Penn State, just kind of falling off. And it feels like once the floodgates open, these teams just get buried. And I don't know if maybe that's part of transfer portal and these teams have such high expectations. And then once they get that first loss, it's just like, okay, well, there goes the season. I don't really know what's going on, but kind of struggling. I'm waiting for, some better weeks ahead of college football. At this point, I'm really I don't want to wish away the season, so I won't even say it. But, like you said, we killed the bowl season. We killed the playoffs. At least we did last year. So I'm looking forward to those games, but, going to enjoy it while it's still here for sure.
Yeah, this is like you said, a kind of a crazy season. We're seeing a lot of these premier programs firing their coaches early. Penn State gone, Florida gone, LSU gone, and I've never seen anything like it or remember anything like it. And I think for these big schools, I think just the coaching market's so good that they want to get ahead of it. Is my guess. Just can your coach while you can, and maybe get in an offer on either Franklin or I guess I don't know. There's a couple other coaches out there, but it is weird. It is weird. And there's a couple conferences out there. We're going to talk about the ACC here. I'm not high on the ACC at all. I apologize for any ACC love, but me and you have both been doing pretty well in these ACC upsets, and we might have one this weekend as well. And the Big 12 is also a really tricky conference, and I think it's getting a little overhyped. And I don't know. We have a really big Big 12 matchup too this weekend, so I'm excited to talk about it. But let's get into tonight's game. Again, not a ranked game, but a really big implication on the college football playoff. Again, if you guys remember the format, it's the 4 conference champions and the next best conference champion, which would be a group of 5 schools. So last year was Boise State, but we have a really big game here on Friday that we're excited to talk about. And this is Tulane at Memphis. Memphis is a 3.5-point favorite at home, over under 53.5. Now, the odds, according to DraftKings, on this the team to make it into the college football playoff currently sits with USF as the favorite still at plus 230. You have North Texas at plus 250. Memphis, that team we're about to talk about, plus 350. And then Tulane, the team they're playing, at plus 1,200 after a loss last week. All in the American Conference. So it looks like we're going to get an American Conference team, which I agree with. I think it's the next best conference. Midwest or Mountain West is down a little bit. Whatever conference JMU is in is not fantastic, but JMU is 7-1. They might make things entertaining come late in the season. But let's talk about this game. Who do you got in this American matchup?
Yeah, well, first off, when we're diving into Friday night unranked football, that kind of tells you how the card is for Saturday. But like you said, it's a big game for playoff implications. I have to lean with Memphis in this game. I do think Memphis is the better of these two teams. And for Tulane, I just hate that they're off that loss last week. That was kind of a must-win game. You know, it's hard to see a non-power four conference team get into the playoff with two losses here. Now, if everything shakes out to where everyone has two losses, then it could potentially happen. But for them, I think that was kind of the season ender for Tulane. Obviously, the odds kind of show that being at 12-1 to make the playoff. And that was a game they were favored by almost a touchdown in. I know it was on the road, but they just kind of got lambasted. Maybe looking ahead to Memphis, but now I just don't think the Memphis game really matters quite as much to them. I mean, it does, but I just don't know if it's really going to help them. And then Memphis, they just control their own destiny here. They need to get this home win Friday night. Crowd should be rocking in this game. Get the win against Tulane. Go to East Carolina. That should be a game they should be able to win. And then it all comes down to the Navy game at the end of the season. That one's at home. So I think Memphis controls their own destiny here. I just think Tulane, I think they could be, kind of have their spirits down after their loss last week. So it's just tough for me to look at the Tulane side. Got to lean Memphis to cover the 3.5 here.
Yeah, I honestly just think there's going to be chaos in this conference. I mean, I think it's going to be really difficult for the committee to either put in a two-loss American or maybe throw in a JMU or another. I don't really know how Boise State or San Diego State are doing, but I just think it's going to be chaos at the end of the year. So I'm actually going to go with Tulane. I'm going to take Tulane at the plus 3.5. They lost last week by, well, quick math here, 18, nope, 12, 22
22.
points. Wow, that was bad math. 22 points to UTSA, who's fine but not great. And like I said, Tulane was the odds-on favorite going into that weekend to make the college football playoff as that Power Five or Group of Five school. They lose, and I just think it's going to continue to do that. UTSA was the favorite; they go out and lose. Memphis was a favorite; they go out and lose to UAB. Tulane was a favorite; now they lose. So now you have USF, North Texas, and Memphis all up at the top. I think Tulane's going to get a little crazy here and make things super complicated. So I think Tulane's going to win it outright. I'll take them at the plus 3.5. I know there's a saying out there like the home team gets anywhere from 1.5 to 3 points, 3.5 points on the favorite. So they're technically saying this is going to be on a neutral site a pick 'em. And after Tulane's terrible 22-point loss last week, it's a little alarming to me. And we've seen Memphis just throw up a stinker against UAB, and I think Tulane's going to come out firing. They still have an outside chance. I know it's not a great chance, but if they get a big win against Memphis at Memphis, they can maybe get alive back in the college football playoff talk. So I think things are going to get crazy here in the American. So give me Tulane at the plus 3.5. This brings us to Saturday, where we have a pretty big Big 12 matchup, but the spread is not as entertaining as one would think it would be with an undefeated team. This is number 7 undefeated BYU at number 8 Texas Tech, the 1 and 2 teams in the Big 12. Texas Tech is a freaking 10-point favorite at home. Over under is 52.5. I'll keep this one really short. BYU is not good. And I know we're going to get BYU in the college football playoff as either that 10 or 11 seed, and it's going to piss me off. Um, but Texas Tech is going to, I think, absolutely roll them here. They're going to win. If you're going to take a team to cover, you might as well take them to win. I just don't think BYU can win. So I'm not going to take them at the plus 10. I think Texas Tech is going to roll. Again, it's just going back to BYU. I think they're extremely overrated. There's a couple overrated teams right now in college football that just have had advantageous schedules so far. Obviously, BYU, good win against Utah. That was at home. I know they're an underdog, but a really big home game, rivalry game. And BYU's had Utah's number for a couple years now. So I think Texas Tech is just a much better team. Again, the spread is super eye-opening to me. Texas Tech, one rank behind BYU. Texas Tech, with the loss to Arizona State, BYU undefeated. They're 10-point dogs. I mean, I got to take Texas Tech here. And again, I think BYU is probably going to win out after this game, which means we're probably going to get a freaking 2 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff, especially with that college football rankings that just came out. They really value the Big 12. You have BYU 7, Texas Tech at 8, and Utah, 2-loss Utah, who I really do like, with 2 losses at 13 ahead of every single ACC school. So I think with just those rankings, those initial rankings, I think we're going to get 2 Big 12 teams. So unfortunately, I think BYU is still going to be alive in the college football playoff. but I think Texas Tech rolls in this game. So give me the Red Raiders -10.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try to keep this one short too. There's only one way to look at this game, and it's not unless you're Ricky Rogers, it's not BYU. So it's Texas Tech. I mean, that's the only way you can look because yeah, you have an undefeated team underdogs as 10-point underdogs. Like everyone and their mom is going to be rushing to bet BYU, take them on the money line. The line tells you everything you need to know. Texas Tech is the better of these two teams. I don't have the numbers offhand, but the lower ranked team being a favorite this year has covered at an insane clip. I think it continues here. You and I have both been down on BYU all year. Coming in, I was high on Texas Tech. They've kind of proven that they're a pretty good team. Yeah, and I think they're way better than BYU. It's a huge game here. Having that one loss under their belt, they can even things up with BYU by giving them the loss at home. Line tells you everything you need to know. Texas Tech absolutely rules BYU in this game.
God, I sure freaking hope so. I've taken a big stance against BYU, and it's backfired so far this year. I've lost at least 2 bets on them, maybe 3. So I really can't afford, just for my social well being, for BYU to win. And hopefully, even if they lose, I need them to get blown out just to prove my point a little bit, for these assholes online. But yeah, it's got to be Texas Tech. I agree with you there. Let's go to a SEC matchup. Should have been a bigger SEC matchup, but not as fantastic now. Let me just double check this line here. I have it at -7. I think I may have still -7 on DraftKings. I'm seeing 6.5s around as well. But we have number 3 Texas A&M at number 22 Missouri. Texas A&M is a 7-point favorite on the road. Over under is 47.5 here. Again, to mention Texas Tech, number 3 in the college football playoff rankings. They are one of what do we got? 4 or 5 undefeated teams left in college football. What do you got in this SEC matchup?
I have to take Missouri +7 because I just think Texas A&M is overrated. Yeah, they're undefeated. Yes, they have to be up, in the rankings at number 3, but they're probably not a top 10 team in college football. I know they're beating the teams that have been put in front of them. They do have a few nice wins. Notre Dame specifically on the road won that game by a point. Outside of that, you beat LSU. I was on LSU in that game. Very disappointing. Florida, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Auburn. Like, I don't know. They haven't beaten anyone really at the top of the SEC. I guess if you want to put LSU up there, but I don't think we were that high on LSU coming in anyway. On the road here against Missouri, I just think it's too many points. It's their third road game in a row here. A lot of travel going on for Texas A&M. Probably feeling pretty good about themselves after beating LSU. They did have the bye week. No real look ahead spot, but I just think they're overrated here. You have Missouri coming off the loss to Vanderbilt. They got the bye as well. Unlike Tulane, they're very much still alive with 2 losses in SEC play, especially losing to Alabama and Vandy. 2 losses that are not too bad whatsoever. So, this is it for Missouri. Have to get this win here at home. I think just taking a touchdown is just too many points for them, just because I do think A&M is an overrated team. So I could not play on A&M against anybody right now, just because the fact that I don't think there's any value. So has to be Missouri for me +7.
Yeah, I am right there with you. I do think Texas A&M is a good team, but I do think they are overrated. I'm not super impressed with any of their wins besides the Notre Dame win, which obviously was great. I know they won at Death Valley against LSU. LSU is kind of turning into a Florida, a Penn State, a team that is a bunch of has-beens. They just fired their coach, a program that's going downhill this year. So yeah, good win at the time. It's just not going to look that great at the end of the year. In Missouri, you do have the injured quarterback theory here. They had the Penn State transfer Prabula, who broke his fibula. I don't really know if he broke that, but he's out for the year. They have a true freshman starting at Mizzou, who the coach has called the future of their program. It only makes sense that this true freshman, of his first career start against a number 3 undefeated Texas A&M, goes out and pulls off a crazy upset. So I think Missouri is a live dog out right here. I'll happily take them at the touchdown. Again, I'm just kind of banking on A&M to the water to meet its medium. I know they're a really good team. I know they're going to make the college football playoff. I just don't think they're the number 3 team in the country. I think there's better SEC teams. And I think Missouri, with their true freshman quarterback, the future of the program, might upset them and might shock some people. So I like Mizzou. I don't think Mizzou is going to make the playoff, but with a big win here, they definitely have another chance for another week. So give me Missouri on the spread. Glad we're in agreement on that one. This brings us to a Big Ten game. Number 9, Oregon at number 20, Iowa. Oregon is a 6.5 point favorite on the road, over under 40.5. Yikes. Iowa was not in the rankings, but then the college football playoff rankings came out and put Iowa at 20, ahead of Michigan, which I'm perfectly okay with. But yeah, an unranked team that gets boosted by the committee, probably because of their two losses, which are by a combined 8 points. They lost to Iowa or Indiana by 5 at home. One of the few teams to cover against this. Wow, what's their name?
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. I was going to say Sooners. Um, and then a 3 point loss at Iowa State. Again, Iowa State, not fantastic, very middle of the rope. That was a rivalry game. It was at Iowa State. I think Iowa won the week or the year prior, so it was maybe a revenge spot for Iowa State. But 8 points in their two losses. Um, I just don't know how sold I am on Oregon. I mean, the one team they played that was good was Indiana, where they lost at home by 10. Yes, they went to Happy Valley and beat Penn State, but that's kind of like the Florida State. That's kind of like the um, who is that just going to bring up? I don't know. The Florida, uh, just a team that was supposed to be good and has turned out to be not that good of a win. So besides that, they really have played bottom feeders in the Big Ten. I'm not saying Iowa's good by any means. This just kind of seems like an Iowa team that's going to stick around maybe a little bit too long. Talks of the college football playoff. I don't think they're going to make it, but I think they're going to keep this game close. And the fact that it's at 6.5, you can get them under a touchdown. Again, one of the few teams to cover against Indiana, which was also at home. I think Iowa gets. I don't want to call for the upset, but I would not be surprised if Iowa wins this game. I think it's going to be like a 3 to 4 point Oregon win. So I'll take Iowa under the touchdown at plus 6.5 in this game.
Yeah, I gotta disagree on this one. I like Oregon kind of in a blowout here. Uh, I don't know how Iowa's ranked at all. Yeah, they have two good losses, I guess, on their schedule, like you mentioned, but Iowa State turned into a pumpkin after their first loss. They're now 5-4 on the year, haven't won since losing that first game. And Indiana was just in a terrible spot against that uh in that Iowa game. They're off the big win against Illinois when Illinois was a top 10 team. They had Oregon on deck on the road. I'm just not, I guess, super impressed by that game because I don't think Indiana put their full effort into the Iowa game. And yeah, I mean, neither of these teams have beaten anybody. Both of them beat Penn State. Oregon did beat Penn State on the road, though, before Penn State really imploded. I mean, that was the game that made them implode. Iowa gets a 1 point win at home. They blow out Wisconsin on the road. I guess it's a decent win, but I mean, Wisconsin's terrible. They take care of Minnesota. I had Iowa in that game. That was a no sweat, easy winner. I'm just not that impressed with Iowa. I think just overall, Oregon has the athletes that can run this team right off the field. And I think they're able to do so in this game. They have Minnesota on deck, no look ahead spot. After that, they do have USC and Washington. So it's their two Pac 12 brothers that they came over to the Big Ten with. But as far as this game goes, off the bye, I think they're ready to play. I think they could blow out Iowa more easily than what Iowa could potentially win the game. So I lean Oregon minus the points. I don't know if I'll be betting that game, but I think Oregon's just far and away the better team here.
Yeah, and Oregon has proved me wrong, and I think they want to prove a lot of people wrong. They got kind of smashed by the committee, getting them to 9 behind Texas Tech. Behind, I know BYU probably should be above with the undefeated, but BYU is not above in the AP poll, and they kind of got shafted a little bit. So I could definitely see Oregon having some motivation to prove something. You have definitely deterred me off of my love for Iowa as much. I'll still stick with the Hawkeyes, but I don't love it as much as I did before the show here. And then I told you guys, we got to talk about this crap ass conference in the ACC. Me and Ethan both were on NC State last week. I had them on the money line as well, knocking off Georgia Tech. It was only a matter of time that Georgia Tech was going to lose a game. I still think they're a good team. I still think they're very live to win the ACC, but they were just overrated. Simple as that. And talk about the most overrated team in the country. And to me, it's got to be Virginia here. Um, talk about something that doesn't make any sense. Virginia has one conference loss that doesn't count as a conference loss. How does that make sense? I don't freaking know, but it's super advantageous to Virginia right now. They lost to NC State in week 2. I know Virginia switched up their schedule there. They were supposed to play Indiana. Indiana switched up their schedule there. So I think the conference and I guess college football as a whole said, you got to fill this game, play against anyone who you can find. We'll make it a non-conference game. So they found a conference opponent. They lose the game, but still have zero conference losses. So it's absolute bullshit. And this Virginia team, sure, we're week 11 into the season. Who would have thought that Virginia would be 14th in the country and very live, they think, to make the college football playoff? This team's not good. Not good at all. Wake Forest is a very, very weird team. They just got absolutely rolled by Florida State last week. A team that, again, put Virginia on the map for beating Florida State in double overtime. Again, Florida State not as good as we thought. So good win at the time, not as good looking back now. They do have a nice win at Louisville in overtime, which kind of took me unexpectedly. They almost lost to North Carolina, whose ass won that game by one in overtime, lost by literally 2 inches with a 2 point conversion fail by North Carolina in OT. And I'm just not sold on Virginia. And then you go back to Wake, like I said, losing bad to Florida State. They beat SMU, who just beat SMU just beat Miami. They go to overtime against Georgia Tech. Just a team that I think can compete with anyone. They just had a weird spot at that Florida State game. I was actually on Florida State on the spread there because it was so big. It was super. I think Florida State was super sharp. So they just got on a bad scheduling spot. I love Wake in this game. I think Wake wins it outright. I'm that confident that I'm going to give Wake money line as my play. I'm going to say F the spread. Give me Wake money line against the frauds of Virginia.
I am right there with you. I'm calling for the Wake Forest upset here. And I have mentioned this so many times on Virginia. Okay. It was a terrible beat last week. If you had Cal, like you and I both did, the pick six late to cover that spread. So, yes, it looks like they won by 10 points. They won that game by 3 points. And if it's not intercepted, maybe Cal has a chance to go win that game. That just leads me to go back to their last 5 games, take away that pick six. They would have ended regulation in their last 5 games, which are all wins, with a plus 5 point differential. 3 overtime games in there where they were lucky enough to win all of them, a 2 point win against Washington State, a 10 point BS extra 7 point win against Cal. Now you're getting 6.5, where they haven't even hardly covered that in 5 games combined. Take out the overtimes. Yeah, I mean, it's Wake Forest all day here. I won't even call just for the Wake Forest upset here. I'm calling for Virginia to lose to Wake Forest. I'm calling for Virginia to lose to Duke. I'm calling for Virginia to lose to Va Tech. And I think their wins are over for the season. I don't think they win again this year. Very, very overrated team. Living by the skin of their teeth right now. It can't keep up. They've had to be one of the luckiest teams in college football this year. Wake Forest is formidable. They're pissed off after what happened to them last week against Florida State. Their season is pretty much over. They're probably going to make a bowl game. They need one win. They still have Delaware on their schedule at home. They're probably going to make a bowl game. You know what? Let's go out, try to wreak some havoc, end Virginia's season here, or not really end it, but put a huge wrench into Virginia's plans. Love Wake Forest plus the points. Think they win it outright. And yeah, I don't think Virginia wins another game this year.
God, that would be so good for my well-being. I'm getting literally death threats for my hate on Virginia. Maybe because I post TikToks, I live in Virginia, maybe it gets broadcasted to Virginia fans. I don't really know how social media works, but these guys cannot stand my Virginia takes. And this team is it's not even close to the most overrated team in the country. I know BYU, I think BYU is scrappy. I think Virginia is just lucky. And I just don't think they're good. And I'm glad you brought up Duke. They have a look ahead spot. Very, very big look ahead spot, Virginia. I know Wake Forest is a weird team. They play teams close. They just got smoked, like I mentioned last week. So maybe Virginia is overlooking Wake just on their performance last week. They look like ass. But now they have Duke, who is odds on favorite to win the ACC on some books. And they have that game looking ahead. And they're just like, we just got to get back to this Wake team, then have a really good shot beating Duke, getting to the ACC championship game, getting to the college football playoff. This team does not have enough talent to overlook any opponent in the country. They should have lost multiple games this year. They already lost NC State, which not great. I know NC State beat Georgia Tech, so maybe they're a scrappy team too, but I definitely think Wake is 100% scrappy, probably just as good athletes as well to upset Virginia at Virginia. I love it. Probably my favorite bet. It is my favorite bet of the week. Last week was NC State was my favorite bet of the week. They won outright. So I'm just going to call, yeah, Wake Forest money line. It would be so great for this to happen. And Virginia is just, God, I'm sorry if you're a Virginia fans watching. I can't trust enough. This team's not good. They're just not good. Not good at all. They don't. zero talent on that team, and they're just getting absolutely lucked out every single freaking game, and it just can't continue. Water will meet its medium, and yeah, it's. I don't like this team. I'm apologizing to any who's out there. It's supposedly what they call themselves, which I didn't know. Um, but yeah, I love Wake. Can't stress it enough. Speaking of look ahead spots, I also like UConn spread against Duke. I think they are looking ahead to Virginia as well. I think Duke wins it. I need Duke to win that game, but I think UConn is going to make it super difficult for Duke to pull out with a win there. But again, kind of went on a rant there. I could go all day about Virginia hate. Do you have anything else you like this weekend or want to talk about before we wrap up for week 11?
Last point I'll just make on anti-Virginia. They are coming back from their trip out to California against that Cal team. So that was a road game, not a great schedule spot there either. But no, probably going live Saturday, I think, unless you have anything going on. So we'll get more into the games that we didn't touch on here. Again, maybe not the greatest slate, but I also think Wake Forest for me is probably, at least at this point, my best bet for the week.
I love it. I love it. Come on, Demon Deacons. Please, please, please help me out. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We do have a bunch of shows out covering a bunch of sports over here at Better and Green. So please like, subscribe over for our YouTube channel. Greatly helps us out, and that is our main channel that we're trying to grow. We do have our NFL live out right now. NHL just went off last night. We have NBA going. We have MMA going. We have soccer going. We cover it all over here at Better and Green. So please tune in and subscribe if that's something you're interested in. And please let us know in the comments what your favorite bet for week 11 is. But until then, guys, we'll see you Saturday going over the college football slate for week 11.
Welcome to Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? Listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.